The galaxy was full of fear, and every star system near the edge of space was burning. The Krith Dominion had destroyed one world after another, and their ships moved like a storm that never stopped. They crushed fleets, they burned colonies, and they left only silence behind them. 5 systems had already fallen, and refugees moved through the stars like rivers of sorrow. Everyone said the same words again and again. Nothing can stop the Krith alien leaders tried to fight. But their fleets broke like glass. The Krith did not fight for peace, they fought only to rule. Their ships bent space with their weapons, and even the strongest shields melted like ice. Across the galaxy, the great alliance of many species prepared for one last battle. But hope was almost gone. Soldiers whispered that this would be their final stand, and no one expected to live through it. On the edge of the war zone, in the darkness between suns, thousands of alien ships gathered together. Their captains gave speeches of courage, but their voices were weak. They knew the Krith would arrive soon, and when that happened, the stars would turn red again. The fleets waited, silent and afraid, and every mind thought the same question: who will save us now? Then far away, a signal appeared. At first, no one noticed it. It was small, quiet, and strange. The Alliance commanders thought it was a ghost signal, maybe broken data from a destroyed ship. But the signal grew stronger, closer, and then clear. It was not Krith, it was not any known ally, it was something else. Scouts looked through their sensors and their voices shook. They saw a dark shape moving slowly through the stars. It was not shining like other ships. Its hull absorbed the light, making it look like a shadow in space. Some thought it was a rock, some thought it was a trick, but soon the truth was known. It was a warship, and it was human. For many in the galaxy, the word human meant little. Humans had stayed far from the great wars. They had no colonies across the Alliance, no seats in the high councils. Most aliens thought humans were weak or primitive, but now here they were, arriving in the darkest hour. The alien fleets were confused. Some commanders said, "Ignore them. They cannot help." Others said, "Maybe they are mercenaries. Maybe they will betray us." But deep inside, all of them felt a spark, a small fire of curiosity. Why would humans come here? To the very heart of the Krith storm. The warship moved closer, silent, steady. Every scanner showed it was built for battle. Its size was not massive like the great alien dreadnoughts, but there was something sharp about it, something dangerous. Its weapons were hidden. Its engines burned blue fire, and its armor reflected no light. The Alliance leaders opened a channel, but no voice answered. The human ship said nothing. It only kept moving into the war zone, closer and closer to the place where the Krith would soon arrive. The galaxy watched, holding its breath. Inside refugee ships, whispers began. Who are they? Why are they here? On planets far away, news spread fast. A new ship has joined the fight. A human ship. Some laughed, saying it would be destroyed like all the rest. Others hoped it was a miracle. In the War Council, an alien elder spoke in fear. "Do not trust them, humans are strangers, they may bring more death," another replied. "But maybe they are the weapon we need." Their voices clashed and no agreement was found. Still, everyone knew the truth. Whatever happened, the galaxy was about to change. The Krith were coming, their massive fleet already crossing the blacks of space. Their war drums echoed through communication channels, promising fire and conquest. The Alliance fleets trembled, shields raised, weapons ready but weak. The commanders looked once more at the human warship, wondering if it would fight or if it would flee. The ship remained silent, drifting into formation without asking permission. It did not hide. It did not bow. It simply moved to the front line, facing the storm that was about to break. The stars flickered as the Krith weapons powered up. The final battle was near. For a moment, all voices in the galaxy stopped. Refugees, soldiers, leaders, even the Krith themselves. They all felt something strange. The silence was heavy, as if time itself waited. The galaxy stood still, staring at the human warship. No one knew what would happen next. But one thought grew inside every mind, clear and strong. Maybe, just maybe, humanity has come to fight. And in that silence, hope was born again. The battlefield was still smoking when the human warship finally moved. The alien fleets had been waiting, staring at the strange black ship that had appeared from nowhere. Some thought it would retreat, others thought it would only watch. But the humans did not wait any longer. Their engines flared like fire, and their ship cut through the void with sharp precision. The Krith Dominion had arrived. Their fleet stretched across the stars like a dark wall. Thousands of warships, heavy carriers, and long, spiked cruisers filled the empty space. Each Krith ship burned with red energy, as if carrying the fire of a dying sun. The alien alliance shivered, for they had seen this wall of destruction before, and they had seen it crush all who resisted. The Krith commander sent a message to the alliance fleets. His voice was deep, cold, and without mercy. Surrender or burn. No one can stand against the Dominion. His words echoed across every channel, filling soldiers and civilians alike with despair. But then something unexpected happened. The human ship answered. The voice was calm, firm, and strangely quiet. Your reign ends here, that was all. 4 simple words, yet they shook every heart. No alien leader had dared to speak like that. Not to the Krith. And for a moment, even the Krith themselves paused. The alien fleets gasped in disbelief. Who were these humans to speak with such courage? Did they not understand the power of the Krith? Or did they know something the rest of the galaxy did not? Questions burned through every mind, but the humans gave no further words. Instead, they let their weapons speak. The first salvo came without warning. The human warship unleashed a storm of light. Blinding beams of energy cut across the void, striking 3 Krith cruisers at once. In seconds, those ships exploded, torn apart like paper. No alien weapon had ever destroyed a Krith ship so quickly. The battlefield froze in silence. Then chaos erupted. The Krith roared in anger, unleashing their own fire. Beams of red light smashed into the human ship. Waves of plasma spread across its shields. But the human warship did not fall. Its armor flared with strange blue ripples, bending the energy away, as if space itself was protecting it. The Alliance fleets watched in awe. Ships that once feared death now found their courage again. For the first time in years, they saw the Krith bleed, and the credit belonged to this single warship from Earth. Inside the Krith command vessel, their warlord growled in rage. His claws scraped against metal as he shouted to his crew, "Destroy that ship. Tear it apart. Show the galaxy that humans are nothing." Every Krith gun turned toward the human warship. The darkness of space lit up with fire. The human captain stood silent on his bridge. His crew moved with discipline, pressing controls, guiding weapons. Their eyes held no fear. They had trained for this moment. They knew the galaxy doubted humanity. They knew this battle would decide their future. The Krith weapon struck again and again, but the human warship danced through the storm. It moved like a predator, slipping between blasts, striking only when the enemy exposed a weak point. Every shot it fired hit with deadly accuracy. Another Krith cruiser fell, then another. The alien fleets could hardly believe it. They had fought for years and barely survived. But this one ship was carving holes into the unstoppable Dominion. Onboard refugee transports, people cheered, tears filling their eyes. They whispered, "Maybe the humans are our saviors," but not. Everyone felt only hope. In the war councils, alien leaders grew uneasy. If humans held such power, what else were they hiding? If a single ship could do this, how many more did they have? Would the galaxy trade one master for another? The questions had no answers, and fear mixed with hope. The Krith grew more desperate. They unleashed swarms of drones, black metal creatures that spread like insects across the void. Each one carried weapons strong enough to shred small ships. The swarm rushed toward the human warship, a sea of claws and fire. The human captain gave one order: release the veil. A strange pulse spread from the warship, invisible at first but powerful. When the drones entered the pulse, their systems failed. Engines died, weapons shut down. Thousands of them went dark. Drifting uselessly through space, the Krith roared in fury, their commander slamming his fists against the command throne. "Impossible. No weapon can—" But his voice was cut short when the human warship fired again. This time, the blast went straight into the heart of a Krith battleship. tearing it apart with a single strike. Across the galaxy, messages spread. Reports flew faster than light. A human warship destroys the Krith. A human ship fights where no one else can. Entire worlds listened. Entire armies stopped to hear. The legend had begun, but the battle was far from over. The Krith still had thousands of ships. Their fleet still darkened the stars, and the human warship, though strong, stood alone. Its shields flickered. Its weapons glowed hot. The crew knew they could not fight forever. Yet, even as danger grew, one truth could no longer be hidden. Humanity had revealed its strength, and the galaxy had seen it. The balance of power was shifting. For the first time in centuries, the Krith were afraid. And as the battle raged, one question echoed louder than the thunder of war. What else are the humans hiding? Rumors spread faster than ships. Long before the smoke of the battle cleared, the story of the human warship was already racing across. The stars, refugees whispered in crowded stations. Soldiers repeated it in hushed voices inside their barracks, and merchants carried it from port to port. The tale grew larger each time it was told. Some said the human ship fought like a ghost, appearing and disappearing at will. Others said its weapons burned with the light of newborn stars. Whatever. The version all agreed on one truth. The Krith had finally bled, and it was the humans who had done it. Among the civilian fleets, fear began to change into something strange and dangerous. It became hope. Mothers held their children tighter and told them that maybe tomorrow would be safe. Old warriors who had fought hopeless wars for decades stood taller when they heard the name of the ship. In smoky cantinas across the galaxy, songs began. Crude at first, but powerful. They called it the Dark Ship of Earth, the one that dared. The Krith too carried the story. Their survivors returned with broken hulls and shattered pride, spreading the rumor of a shadow vessel that cut through their strongest cruisers like knives through cloth. In their own ranks, soldiers muttered with unease. Their commanders silenced them with threats and claws, but even silence could not kill. The truth, the Krith had known only victory for generations, and now, for the first time, they felt something alien to them: fear. In the great council chambers of the Alliance, the news struck like lightning. Leaders of many species argued furiously. Some shouted that humans must be welcomed, that they had saved thousands of lives. Others shouted even louder that humans must be feared. If one ship can do this, what will happen if they bring 10? What if they seek to rule us after the Krith are gone? Voices clashed, alliances cracked, trust grew thin. Behind locked doors, secret councils were held. Some planned to reach out to the humans with gifts and treaties. Others whispered of building new fleets, not against the Krith, but against Earth. The galaxy had prayed for a savior, and now that one had come, they wondered if they had unleashed something worse. Inside the human warship, life was different. The crew moved with quiet pride, but also heavy silence. They had fought hard and they had won, but every crew member knew the truth. The Krith had not yet shown their true power. Their captain stood at the bridge watching distant stars. He knew what the others did not. Humanity had stayed hidden for centuries, building in silence, preparing. They had not come into the light by choice. They had been forced, and once revealed, there would be no turning back. One officer asked, "Captain, do you think they will trust us?" The captain's eyes stayed on the stars as he replied, "Trust is not given in war, it is earned, but it doesn't matter if they trust us. What matters is that the Krith will fall." His words carried through the crew, giving them strength. Meanwhile, far away in Krith space, the warlords gathered. Their throne room was carved from black stone, burning with red fires. They roared and cursed, slamming their weapons against the ground. Never before had a single ship insulted their empire. One warlord screamed, "They will pay. These humans will not be remembered as warriors, but as ashes." Another added, "Bring the doom carrier. Let it crush them." The council agreed, their eyes burning with rage. The humans would be their target, their symbol. If they could destroy this single ship, they could kill the new hope rising across the galaxy. And so the Krith prepared their deadliest weapon, a war machine larger than cities, bristling with guns, that could shatter moons. It moved slowly like a mountain of fire, but when it arrived, no fleet had ever survived. The Doom carrier was not just a ship, it was a message. Resistance was useless. Yet even as the Krith prepared, the galaxy could not stop whispering. Whole planets lit fires in celebration of the battle they had only heard of. Pilots painted human symbols on their ships, hoping it would give them courage. Even enemy smugglers, who once cursed Earth, now raised a glass in secret respect, but not everyone was blind with hope. In a dark chamber of the Alliance, a lizard-like diplomat spoke to his allies. The humans are dangerous. More dangerous than the Krith. They fight. With weapons we do not understand, and they say little, do you not see? Today they fight for us, tomorrow they may fight against us. His words spread like poison, and soon, some leaders began planning to spy on the humans, even as they begged them for help. On the bridge of the human ship, silence fell as a warning. Alarm echoed. The crew watched as their scanners picked up something massive entering the edge of the system. The captain narrowed his eyes. He knew the signal, though none of his crew had ever seen it before. The Krith were coming, and they were bringing the Doom carrier. The galaxy shook with fear as the signal spread. Civilizations that had just begun, to hope now froze in terror. Could even the humans stand against this monster of war? Refugees prayed, soldiers gripped their weapons tighter, and leaders hid their doubts behind proud words. But all of them turned their eyes toward the human warship, the lone shadow standing against the storm. The story had only just begun. The Krith had bled, the galaxy had whispered, and the humans had stepped into the light. Now, with the Doom carrier moving through the void, every world waited for the next chapter. Would the humans fall like all the rest? Or would they do what no one else could? In that silence, as stars flickered with coming fire, the galaxy held its breath. The stars trembled as the Doom carrier entered the system. It did not simply arrive. It swallowed the horizon, the alien fleets, already battered and afraid, felt their courage drain away at the sight of it. The massive Krith war machine moved like a moon carved from black iron, bristling with endless weapons. Its hull was plated with armor thicker than mountains. Its engines burned like dying suns, and its shadow stretched across entire fleets. The Krith had brought their monster, and with it, the promise of total destruction. Whole civilizations had fallen to this single ship. Its weapons could rip open planets. Its presence alone broke armies before the first shot. The Alliance captains stared at their screens, their hands trembling. They had seen hopeless battles before, but never one like this. Their fleets whispered the same words through private channels. There is no way to win. Inside the council chamber aboard the lead Alliance cruiser, leaders argued in panic. Retreat, retreat before we are all slaughtered, one shouted, another countered. There is nowhere left to run. If the carrier is here, our worlds are already doomed. Fear turned to anger, and anger turned to despair. Their voices shook, but no plan came. For all their ships, for all their numbers, they knew their weapons would bounce off the Doom carrier's shields like stones against steel. Yet amid the chaos, one silent figure stood unshaken. The human warship, the black shadow ship, moved to the front, its engines steady, its weapons humming with energy. No words came from its captain, no speeches, no bravado. It simply faced the monster head-on. The Krith warlord aboard the Doom carrier leaned back in his throne of blades. His voice rumbled through the battlefield on all channels. Little human, your courage is foolish. I will grind your ship into dust and scatter your crew into the void. You should have stayed hidden in your cradle world. His words carried laughter, cruel and sharp. The Krith soldiers roared in approval, banging their weapons against metal floors. But the human ship answered only with silence. Then, without warning, the Doom carrier fired. A lance of red energy ripped through the void, bending space as it traveled. Smaller ships that strayed too close were torn apart instantly. Their debris burned like sparks against the darkness. The beam struck toward the human warship with unstoppable force. The galaxy watched, hearts frozen, knowing no ship had ever survived such a strike. The human shields flared, blue light rippled across the hull as the energy struck. For a moment, the ship seemed to vanish inside the explosion. The void filled with fire, and silence gripped every heart. Refugees screamed, soldiers bowed their heads, and the Krith laughed in triumph. But when the fire cleared, the shadow ship still stood. Smoke and scars marked its armor, but it remained alive. Its engines roared, brighter than before. The human captain's voice finally broke the silence, carried only to his crew. "Hold position, let them come." The Alliance fleets gasped. If a single ship could endure what no dreadnought could, perhaps there was still a chance. Courage sparked in a few hearts, small but growing. Still, the fear of the doom carrier was overwhelming. Its next shot was already charging, gathering fire strong enough to melt continents. Inside the Krith command chamber, the warlord leaned forward, his claws tapped against steel. "Interesting," he growled. "Let us see how long they last." He ordered the carrier's side batteries to open fire. Hundreds of cannons lit up, filling space with fire. Explosions chased. Across the void, a storm that no fleet could outrun. The human warship did not flee. It moved forward into the storm, weaving between blasts with impossible precision. Its weapons opened, beams of cold white energy striking the smaller escort ships around the carrier. One by one, they fell in bursts of flame. The Krith roared, but the humans kept pressing forward, closer and closer to the giant. In the alien fleets behind, captains argued. Some wanted to follow, to fight alongside the humans. Others wanted to hold back, afraid of being crushed. The Alliance stood divided, even as the battle unfolded before their eyes. Yet all of them could not look away. Their fate was tied to the shadow ship now. On the human bridge, sweat ran down faces. Hands shook, but the captain's voice was steady. "Target their escorts, strip the beast of its fangs before we face its heart." Crew members obeyed, weapons fired, and another Krith cruiser fell. The human ship was smaller, weaker in size, but it fought with precision, striking like a blade rather than a hammer. The doom carrier unleashed its second main strike. The void shook, space rippled, the beam tore across everything in its path. This time the human warship barely dodged, the blast grazing. Its side armor ripped, alarm screamed. Whole sections went dark. For a second even the crew thought it was the end, but the captain's eyes narrowed. "We are not finished," he said, his voice cutting through fear. Across the galaxy, billions watched through live transmissions. Some, on distant worlds, fell to their knees praying to gods old and new. Some shouted in defiance, chanting for the humans to fight. And in hidden corners some leaders whispered in fear. If this ship survived, humanity would no longer be ignored. The doom carrier loomed larger now, filling every screen. Its next shot was charging. A storm, building inside its heart. The human warship adjusted its course, pushing closer. Each moment was agony. Each breath across the galaxy was held. And then the human captain gave the final command. "Prepare the lance." The crew froze for half a heartbeat. They knew what that meant. A weapon forbidden even by human law. A weapon that could rip holes in the very fabric of space. Slowly, the ship's core began to glow, white light bleeding through the dark hull. The alien fleets saw it, their sensors, screaming warnings they could not understand. The doom carrier roared, its weapon almost ready. The humans roared back, silent but burning, and in that moment, as two impossible weapons faced each other across the void, the galaxy knew one thing. The outcome of this single clash would decide not only the battle but the future of every world. The void shook with fire. The doom carrier's weapon burned brighter, a storm of crimson energy gathering at its core. The galaxy had seen this before. Fleets crushed, planets split, hope erased. Yet this time was different. This time, one human warship stood in its path, scarred but unbroken. Its black hull glowed faintly as if hiding something no one had ever seen. Inside the human ship, alarms screamed. The crew fought to keep shields alive, rerouting power, sealing burning sections. Their hands trembled, but their voices stayed steady. They knew what they were about to do. They knew they might not live. Yet no one hesitated. Every life on that ship carried the same purpose. The Krith must be stopped. The captain's voice was calm. "Activate the singularity lance." The words fell heavy. The crew exchanged glances. Some whispered short prayers. Others set their jaws. This was the weapon their people had sworn never to use. A weapon so dangerous it had been locked away in silence. But humanity had no choice now. The ship's core pulsed with a low hum, energy built like a heartbeat, rising, faster, louder. The hull itself seemed to vibrate, glowing with pale light. The lance was not just a weapon. It was a tear in reality, a wound carved through the laws of space. The doom carrier fired first. A beam of red energy shot across the stars, so powerful it warped light around it. Entire fleets turned their eyes away, unable to watch. The human warship held its position, waiting. At the last instant, the Singularity lance fired. There was no sound, no flame. The weapon did not scream, it whispered. A thin line of white light cut across the void, small and almost fragile. But wherever it passed, reality itself bent. The red beam shattered like glass, breaking into shards of energy that dissolved into nothing. The white light kept moving, striking the doom carrier's armor. For the first time in history, the monster screamed. Its shields cracked, splitting open. The lance pierced its heart, splitting the warship like a blade through stone. The impossible had happened. The doom carrier was broken. Across the galaxy, silence reigned. The great fleets, the refugees, the leaders. They all stared in disbelief. A weapon that should not exist had just undone the greatest terror of their age. Then, as the Krith ship tore itself apart in explosions, the silence broke. Cheering spread across comms, wild and uncontrolled. Soldiers pounded their consoles, civilians wept. Entire fleets shouted one name, humans, but not all voices were filled with joy. In the shadowed council chambers of distant worlds, leaders whispered in fear. What have they unleashed? What kind of species creates such a weapon? The question spread just as quickly as hope. Was humanity the savior of the galaxy or its next nightmare? Inside the human warship, relief mixed with exhaustion, the crew stared at the dying fragments of the doom carrier, but their celebration was quiet. The lance had worked, but the cost was clear. Systems were drained, the hull trembled, and the weapon had left scars even on their own ship. One officer turned to the captain, voice low. How long until the others realize what we've shown them? The captain did not answer. His eyes were fixed on the wreckage as if already seeing the wars yet to come. In Krith space, the rage of their warlords shook their empire. The destruction of the doom carrier was unthinkable, a wound to their pride. Some shouted for vengeance, others for retreat. For the first time, the Krith faced something beyond their power, and they hated it. The word human became their curse, spoken with venom. Yet the galaxy outside Krith space spoke it differently. In marketplaces, in hidden corners, in the hearts of soldiers who had long given up, the word became a banner of hope. Stories spread like wildfire, some true, some wild exaggerations. They said the human ship carried a weapon that ate stars. They said its captain never blinked before fire. They said the humans had returned to claim the galaxy itself. The Alliance fleet sent envoys to the human ship, begging for alliance, for protection. Some offered tribute, others promised loyalty. But behind every offer was fear. They had seen the power of the Singularity lance, and power was never trusted. On board the human warship, the crew debated in private. Some believed they should reveal the truth, that the lance was a last resort, a weapon that could not be fired again without tearing themselves apart. Others argued they must remain silent, let the galaxy believe, let fear itself become their shield. The captain finally spoke. We do not fight for power. We fight because no one else can. Remember that, and never forget what this weapon costs. His words anchored the crew, but outside, the galaxy was already deciding for itself. The Krith were not defeated, not yet. Their empire still stretched across countless systems, their fleet still numbered in the thousands, and now, driven by fury, they would come harder, faster. They would not stop until Earth itself was burning. For the first time in ages, the galaxy had hope, but hope was not enough. Humanity had shown its strength, and with that strength came a heavy shadow. The stars would remember the fall of the doom carrier, but they would also whisper in fear of the lance. And so, as wreckage drifted through the void, and the last fires of the carrier faded, the galaxy stood at a new edge. No. One could know what would come next. Would the humans save them or rule them? Would the lance be their shield or their doom? In the silence after the battle, one truth was clear. The galaxy would never be the same again. The galaxy had not rested since the fall of the Doom Carrier. For the first time in centuries, the Krith had been wounded and hope had returned to the stars. Refugees sang songs of humans. Soldiers painted the shadow ship on their armor, and entire worlds whispered that salvation had finally arrived. But in the council chambers of the Alliance, hope mixed with fear. The leaders of a dozen species met in secret halls. Their voices clashed like weapons. Humans must be welcomed, said one. They saved us all. Another slammed his fist and hissed, They are too dangerous. Did you see that weapon? The singularity. Lance is not salvation. It is madness. The chamber boiled with fear and pride. No one could agree. Some wanted alliance, others wanted control, and a few whispered treachery. Among the common people, stories grew. Some believed humans were ancient guardians, waiting in silence until the galaxy needed them. Others believed they were conquerors, testing their power before striking. The truth did not matter. What mattered was the fear, and fear was spreading almost as quickly as hope inside the human warship. The crew worked in silence. They repaired their hull, sealed the scars of battle, and restored systems drained by the lance. Yet even as the ship hummed with life again, unease filled the air. The crew could feel the eyes of the galaxy upon them, watching, judging. The captain stood at the viewport, calm but troubled. He knew the Alliance feared them almost as much as they feared the Krith. One officer whispered, They cheer for us, but in their hearts they do not trust us, another replied. They will turn on us when the Krith are gone. The captain listened, but said nothing. He knew both were right. Humanity had always been outsiders, and now their greatest weapon had made them both heroes and threats. Far across the void, the Krith were not idle. Their warlords raged at the loss of the Doom Carrier. Some demanded retreat, others demanded vengeance. Finally, they united under a single vow. Earth would burn, the humans would be made an example. Every Krith fleet began to move, gathering for a strike not against the Alliance, but against humanity itself. When the news reached the human ship, silence fell. For centuries, Earth had been hidden, far from the wars of the galaxy. Humanity had stayed quiet, building in secret. Now the Krith had found them. The war was no longer distant. It was coming home. The captain summoned his crew. His voice was steady. We cannot choose between ourselves and the galaxy. The Krith will destroy both if we falter. We fight not just for Earth, but for every world that still breathes free. His words lit a fire in his crew. They knew the battle ahead would decide everything. In the Alliance Council, debate turned to desperation. If the Krith destroy the humans, we all fall, one voice cried. Then let them fall first, another spat. Better the humans than us. Plots grew in the dark. Some leaders sent secret messages to the Krith, hoping to buy safety through betrayal. Others sent spies to watch the humans, to steal their weapon if they could. The galaxy was not united, not even when the end drew near. Yet among the soldiers of the Alliance, among the ordinary people, the truth was clearer. They had seen the Krith bleed, and they had seen the humans stand. Many swore to follow them, even if their leaders would not. Quiet pacts were made in secret, captains promising their fleets would fight beside the shadow ship when the time came. Inside the Krith throne halls, preparations were nearly complete. Their fleets were larger than ever. Their commanders swore revenge. They would not rest until the humans were ashes. They built weapons darker than before, weapons that fed on stars. They would bring not just war, but annihilation. Back aboard the human warship, the crew gathered at the observation deck, watching the stars. Each of them wondered the same thing. Could they stand against the fury of the entire Krith Empire? Could a single ship make a difference again? The captain's voice broke the silence. One ship can change everything. It already has. The galaxy has seen what humanity can do, and we are not alone. Not anymore. Still, doubts lingered, even as Promises of alliance arrived even as soldiers swore loyalty. The humans knew betrayal could come at any time. The galaxy had gained new hope, but it had also gained new fear. The stage was set. The Krith fleets were gathering, larger than ever before. The alliance teetered between unity and treachery. Humanity stood revealed, no longer shadows but symbols. The stars themselves seemed to wait as if holding their breath. The war was no longer about survival. It was about trust, about power, about the future of the galaxy. The humans had shown their strength, but now they would face a choice. Would they stand alone to protect their home? Or would they risk everything to save even those who plotted against them? As the human warship turned its course toward the oncoming storm, one truth echoed in every heart. The next battle would decide not only Earth's fate, but the fate of the galaxy itself. The stars darkened as the Krith armada arrived. There, ships blotted out entire constellations, row after row of black war machines stretching across the void. The galaxy had seen many battles, but never a fleet like this. The Krith had brought everything: their warlords, their carriers, their swarms, and weapons so massive they could tear the crust from planets. The Alliance fleets trembled as they watched. Even united, they were too few. Their ships floated in scattered formations, shields humming, weapons primed, but their captains knew the truth. This was not a battle for victory. It was a battle to survive a little longer. And still at the front of the line, silent and unshaken, stood the human warship. Across communication channels, fear rippled. Soldiers muttered, "We will die here." Refugees prayed. Commanders argued. Some shouted to retreat, to scatter, to save at least part of their people. But the human ship did not move. Its black hull reflected no light. Its engines burned with quiet fire. Its presence was defiance. On the Krith command vessel, the warlord stood tall, claws tapping the edge of his throne. His voice rolled across the stars like thunder. "This is the end. You insects will scatter. Your worlds will burn. And the humans will be erased from history." His fleets roared in response, the sound of thousands of war drums shaking through the comms. The human captain gave only one reply, not to the Krith, but to his crew. "Today, we do not fight for ourselves. We fight for every world that still dreams of freedom." His words carried no fire, no anger, only calm certainty. And that calm spread through the ship, steadying hands, quieting fear. Then the void exploded. The Krith fired first. Waves of plasma storms and red beams crashed against Alliance shields. Whole squadrons were wiped out in the first strike. Debris drifted like falling ash. The human ship surged forward, engines blazing, cutting a path through the fire. Its weapons roared, slicing enemy cruisers apart with cold precision. The Alliance fleets followed, some willingly, others dragged by duty. Together they formed a line around the human ship. Each blast they fired echoed with new courage. For the first time, they did not scatter, they held. But the Krith had not unleashed their deadliest secret yet. Deep in their flagship, an ancient device stirred. Its core glowed with crimson light, a weapon older than their empire, a relic of conquest. It had one purpose: to erase entire star systems. One of the warlords leaned forward, whispering, "Let them watch their sons die." Across the battlefield, the human captain sensed the shift. The Krith were preparing something beyond fleets and fire. His sensors screamed with warnings. The weapon was charging. The galaxy itself seemed to tremble. On the Alliance channels, panic broke out. "They will kill us all," shouted one commander. Another cried, "We cannot stop that weapon. Nothing can." Despair spread like fire. Ships faltered. Some began to retreat, breaking formation. The human captain's voice cut through the chaos, calm and sharp. "Stand firm. If we fall now, every world falls with us." His ship surged ahead, leaving the wavering fleets behind. Alone, it charged straight toward the heart of the Krith armada. The galaxy watched in stunned silence. A single black ship moving into the jaws of destruction. Every world held its breath. Every soldier froze. Every refugee whispered a prayer. The legend of humanity was no longer rumor. It was being written in fire before their eyes. The Krith unleashed their swarms. Thousands of drones screamed through space, claws and guns flashing. They surrounded the human warship, a black cloud of death. Inside the ship, the crew worked without fear. "Release the veil," the captain ordered. A pulse of invisible energy spread from the hull. Drones went dark, weapons failed, engines died. In seconds, thousands of the swarm floated dead and useless. The path cleared, but the cost was rising. The human shields flickered, armor peeled away, fires spread across corridors. The lance was still charging, but time was running out. The Krith weapon would soon be ready. Its glow was already spreading across the void like a false sunrise. On the Alliance ship, silence fell. They saw what the humans were doing. They saw one ship dive alone into the fire, and shame burned in their hearts. One by one, voices broke through the comms. "We will not abandon them," a captain declared. Another added, "For the humans, for the galaxy." Slowly, then faster, ships turned, engines roared, weapons flared. The Alliance fleets followed once more. Rallying behind the shadow ship, the battlefield turned into chaos. Krith warships clashed with desperate Alliance fighters. Explosions tore across the void. The human ship kept pressing forward, closer to the flagship, closer to the weapon. Inside, the captain's voice was steady. "One more strike, prepare the lance." The Singularity lance hummed with growing power. The crew felt it in their bones, space itself trembling. They knew the danger. They knew a single misfire could rip their own ship apart. But none faltered. The Krith warlord roared in fury. His weapon was almost ready. His fleet still outnumbered the Alliance 100-1. Victory was certain. Yet his eyes burned with rage and fear as he watched the human ship. This one vessel had defied him, had wounded his pride, and he would see it destroyed even if the galaxy burned with it. The stars grew darker as the Krith weapon neared completion. Energy swirled like a crimson storm, threatening to devour everything. And in the middle of it, the human warship pressed forward, light gathering at its core. Billions watched across the galaxy. Every screen, every broadcast carried the image, the Krith preparing to end it all, and the humans charging to stop them. No one knew what would happen. No one dared to breathe. The last stand of the galaxy had begun, and at its heart, a single ship carried the weight of every world. The stars fell silent as the battlefield froze. The Krith weapon glowed with crimson light, a storm of energy so vast it painted entire constellations red. It was a star crusher, a device that could shatter suns, erase systems, and leave nothing but drifting dust. The galaxy had seen fear before, but never like this. Entire fleets trembled, soldiers gripped their controls with shaking hands, and whole planets prayed. And still the human warship moved forward, its hull scarred, its shields flickering, its engines burning with the last of their strength. The Alliance fleets had scattered under the storm, but they turned now, following. Their commanders knew the truth. No matter their doubts, no matter their fears, everything now rested on the humans. On the Krith flagship, the warlord roared with triumph, "This is the end. You will watch your galaxy die." His claws struck the Yao command throne, his teeth flashing, and humanity will vanish with it. Around him, his soldiers cheered, their voices like thunder. Inside the human ship, silence reigned. The crew stared at their screens, watching the growing glow of the weapon. They knew what it meant. There would be no second chance, no retreat. If they failed now, every world would burn. The captain stood tall, his voice steady. "Prepare for final course, all power to the lance." The ship groaned as energy built inside its heart. The Singularity lance charged, humming with dangerous light. Panels cracked, alarms screamed, but the crew held their stations. Their eyes burned with determination. They knew they might not live. They knew their sacrifice might be the last line between life and extinction. The Krith weapon fired. A river of red light surged forward, tearing space open. Entire Alliance fleets vanished in its glow. Ships melted into sparks. The galaxy gasped in horror. Their last hope was about to be drowned, but the human ship did not retreat. It accelerated, engines screaming, diving straight into the path of the crimson storm. Its shields shattered, its hull tore. Yet it pressed on like a shadow-piercing fire. The captain's voice rang out, calm as ever. "Release the lance." The Singularity. Lance fired. A beam of pure, white light cut through the void. It was small at first, thin as a thread, but it carried the weight of stars. Wherever it passed, reality itself bent and split. The crimson storm shattered, torn apart, fragments dissolving into nothing. The white beam struck the Krith weapon, piercing its core. The weapon screamed, a soundless cry that echoed across space. Its energy exploded inward, tearing the flagship apart. Flames and fragments scattered across the void. Entire Krith fleets faltered, their commanders watching their ultimate power vanish in an instant. The human warship was caught in the storm. Its hull broke, sections tore away, fire consumed its decks. The crew felt the ship dying around them, but they did not flinch. They had done their duty. The captain stood firm even as the bridge crumbled. His last words were calm. For Earth, for the galaxy. Then the light consumed them. And then, silence. When the fire cleared, the battlefield was still. The Krith armada scattered, their fleets in chaos. Their commanders shouted, raged, but their hearts were broken. Their invincible weapon was gone. Their enemy had faced them and died with honor. For the first time in history, the Krith retreated across the galaxy. Transmissions lit up. Soldiers shouted in disbelief. Civilians wept. Entire worlds erupted in cheers. The impossible had happened. Humanity had stood alone against the storm and ended it. The galaxy had been saved, but the cost was heavy. The shadow ship was gone. Its wreckage drifted silently, glowing faintly in the void. No survivors answered the calls. The humans had sacrificed everything. The Alliance fleets bowed their heads, even the proudest commanders silent. They knew they had witnessed something greater than victory. They had witnessed legend. In the years to come, the story spread. Some called it the day the galaxy stood still. Others called it the last stand of Earth. Songs were sung. Statues were built. Entire cultures carried the memory. The name of the human warship was whispered with reverence. Yet in quiet halls, fear still lingered. The galaxy asked itself, a question it could not answer. If one ship could do this, what would happen if humanity returned with more? Hope and fear lived side by side. Humanity had given everything, but the shadow of their power remained. And somewhere, deep in the dark of space, fragments of the warship drifted. Some said signals still pulsed faintly from its core. Others swore they had seen flashes of white light among the wreckage, as if the ship itself refused to die. Whether true or myth, the galaxy held onto it, a symbol of courage. The Krith licked their wounds in silence, humiliated but not destroyed. They would return one day stronger, darker, hungrier, but now they carried a scar that could never heal. They had faced humans and they had learned fear. And so the galaxy changed. No longer did it see humanity as weak or distant. No longer did it forget Earth. From that day onward, the stars remembered the ship that had stood when all others faltered, remembered the crew who gave their lives to save billions. The galaxy stood still once, and in that stillness, it learned that humanity had arrived, and nothing would ever be the same. Again,